So now we're going to solve quadratic equations using algebra, and the first thing we're going to look at is factorising equations to solve them. And here's a little bit of magic. To solve a quadratic equation, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b and c are numbers, and for example x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0, that is the a is 1 here, the b is minus 8 and the c is 15, then we know that this factorises into x minus 5 and x minus 3. We can set this equal to 0, and then we know the solutions are x equals 5 and x equals 3. Now you're going to go, boy, how did he do that? Well, that's what we'll see on the next slide. So let's look back at factorising ax squared plus bx plus c. We have done this in a previous session. If you've got any issues factorising this type of thing, then look back at those slides and the videos that were done for this. Basically, we're looking at a is 1 and c is 15. We look at 1 times 15. We look at the factors of 15. Do you remember working those out? We had 3 and 5, 1 and 15, minus 3 and minus 5, minus 1 and minus 15. And when we take those factors, we find the pair of factors that adds up to this b value, which is minus 8. So here we have b is minus 8, and we need the two factors that add to minus 8, which are minus 3 and minus 5. Just double check, minus 3 times minus 5 equals plus 15. So we can factorise this quadratic into these brackets. We could always check by expanding again. Remember, we could use the FOIL method or the grid method to expand this out. If you do expand this out, we've got x times x, which is x squared, x times minus 3, which is minus 3x, minus 5 times x, which is minus 5x, and minus 5 times minus 3, which is 15. If you've written that out, you'll see that that simplifies into the x squared minus 8x plus 15. Now we've done that, why don't you try and factorise these? Again, if you have any issues, look back at the videos from the week we did factorisation, and just make sure that you can do these. If you pause the video now and have a go and then restart it, we will see what the answers are. Did you pause the video? Make sure you pause it. You don't want to see the answers yet. Okay, so here are the answers to the factorisations. The factors of 15, here it's plus 15, so we need plus 3 and the plus 5. That will give us plus 8. In the second one, we need the factors of 12 that add up to minus 8. Here we need two negative factors, the minus 6 and the minus 2. Because minus 6 times minus 2 is plus 12, and minus 6 plus minus 2 is minus 8. Here again, we need the factors of minus 40. So we'll need to make this negative, so one of the factors has to be negative and one positive. We need them to add to 3, and the ones that add to 3 are 8 minus 5. And finally, the last one, two factors that multiply together to give you 24 and add together to give you 11. Well, 3 8s are 24 and 3 plus 8 is 11. And we've got those. If you're still struggling with that, make sure you go back and check, because if you can do this, you've done all the hard work in solving one of these equations, which we'll talk about next. So now we've done all the hard work, we can factorise ax squared plus bx plus c. So now we can solve this straight away. Just going back to our previous example, x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. We know this factorises into x minus 5 and x minus 3. And if we put this equal to 0, we can just write our solution straight away. What we have here is two brackets, the multiplication sign in the middle, and one bracket multiplied by another bracket, and we need the solution or the answer to be 0. Well, the only way that can be 0 is if this left-hand bracket, x minus 5, is 0, because nothing times a number is 0, or if the right-hand bracket is 0, i.e. the left-hand bracket is a number times the right hand bracket, which is 0, equals 0. So what we have to do is look for solutions of this bracket. What makes x minus 5 equal to 0? Well, something take away 5 equals 0. That x has to be 5. Here, on this bracket, what makes this bracket 0? Well, x minus 3 equals 0, which means that x has got to equal 3, because 3 minus 3 is 0. So once we have the factors, we can write down the answers straight away. For this bracket, x minus 5, the solution is x equals 5, and for this bracket, x minus 3, the solution is x equals 3. I then usually get asked the question, do we just take the negative of what this number is? Well, in most cases, yes, that is the solution. If this was x plus 5, we would have x equals minus 5 as the answer. So just take care and just double check that once you've got these two solutions, that they do work. Here, when x is 5, 5 squared is 25, 5 eighths are 40, so 25 minus 40 is minus 15, plus 15 equals 0, and we have our solution. Okay, so we've solved the quadratic equation by factorising. Try these. You've already factorised these. That's what we did in the previous screencast. So you should have the factors already, and you should just be able to write the answers down. Pause the video and then have a go, and then we'll look at the answers. Pause the video. Okay, so here are the answers. Let's look at the first one. We factorised this before, x plus 3 and x plus 5. Well, what makes the left-hand bracket 0 when x equals minus 3? Minus 3 plus 3 equals 0. And when x is minus 5, the second bracket is 0. So the two values that we need are x equals minus 3 or x equals minus 5. In a similar way, for the second bracket, we factorise this into x minus 6 and x minus 2. So what makes the first bracket 0? Well, when x is 6, that makes it 0, and the second bracket is 0 when x is 2. So our two solutions are x equals 6 or x equals 2. If you put 6 or 2 back into this equation, you will see that it will be 0. Any other numbers don't work. Similarly for the other two solutions. So now we've solved some quadratic equations by factorising the expression and then setting the factors equal to 0 and writing down the answers to the factors. That's one way of doing solving equations. There are other ways, but for foundation level, this is as far as you need to go.